You've been sold a fantasy wrapped in camouflage, stuffed into a tactical backpack, and marketed with the confidence of a guy who's never spent a night outside of Wi-Fi range. Every self-proclaimed survival expert on YouTube, every prepper influencer with affiliate links for their must-have gear, every dude who thinks owning a tomahawk makes him a threat to society, they've all been peddling the same beautiful delusion. The 70-pound bug-out bag, the fortress on your back, the just in case the world ends and I still want French press coffee setup. And the worst part? You believed them. Maybe not all of it, but enough to start thinking you were ready. Spoiler, you're not. Here's the inconvenient truth. When the lights go out, when your neighbors are looting the Dollar General for batteries and gluten-free canned soup, when society hits the fan with the force of a diesel truck with no brakes, the guy with the mega pack full of essentials is already dead. Or worse, he's alive, sitting on the curb 3 miles from home, knees shredded, soaked in his own sweat, trying to remember why he thought carrying 3 hatchets and a folding shovel made sense. He won't make it past the first roadblock. Too slow, too loud, too hopeful. That gear isn't survival gear, it's backpacking gear with a trauma fantasy cosplay filter. We're not here to go glamping while society dies. This isn't a weekend trip to REI land. This is about reality. The type where your options are limited, your calories are numbered, and your comfort is a currency you can't afford to spend. Let me tell you something horrifying. The real killer in most survival scenarios isn't radiation or cannibalism or being hunted by a feral HOA. It's the simple stuff. Cold, thirst, bad decisions. The way your body quietly fails you while your brain keeps insisting you're fine. That's what gets you. That's what gets almost everyone. So we're not talking about packing gear. We're talking about packing capabilities. Think of every item like a mercenary. If it can't fight in 3 different ways, it doesn't get hired. This is the rule, the multiplier rule. 1 job, trash. 3 or more, we're talking survival grade. It's the difference between carrying a lemon zester or a blade that can cook dinner, build a home, and defend your life. There are exactly 7 items that matter. 7 force multiplying, problem solving, end-of-the-world proof tools. Most of them are so boring, the gear bros won't even mention them because they can't get them in black with red paracord. But they'll save your life long after their $400 tactical flashlight runs out of batteries and hope. Item 1 is simple. It's what stands between you and a hypothermic death spiral. Fire. You think you've got fire covered? That's adorable. Let me guess you've got a plastic lighter you stole from your roommate's weed stash. Maybe a pack of waterproof matches you bought in a moment of Amazon optimism. Possibly a magnesium striker you used exactly once before deciding it was pretty cool. You're already dead. Because when it matters when it's 3 a.m., the rain has been falling for 6 hours, your fingers are numb, sausages, and you've just realized you forgot your sleeping bag known. If those things work, your Bic will be out of fuel. Your matches will be wet. And that magnesium striker? Yeah. Try using it with fingers that feel like wet tofu. You don't need a gimmick. You need certainty. You need the infinite spark of full-size Ferro Rod with a real striker. Not the kind that comes on a survival bracelet. Not the off-brand trash that crumbles like chalk after 5 uses. A legit 5-inch long, half-inch thick Ferro Rod made from high-quality ferrocerium. Here's the deal. A good Ferro Rod throws 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit sparks that will light almost anything short of a wet sponge. It works in rain, snow, altitude, exhaustion, and existential dread. It's rated for 15,000 strikes. That's 15,000 chances to not die. And it's not just for starting fire. That spark is a flashlight for the desperate, a signal visible in the dead of night, a tiny reminder that you're not entirely screwed. If you're smartened, I hope you are, it's also Tinder. Shave off the Ferro Rod itself for magnesium-rich filings. Combine with duct tape fluff or dried cattail, and you've got ignition even when everything else is a swamp. But here's where the multiplier rule comes into play. Fire isn't just about heat. It's about boiling water, cooking food, drying gear, scaring off animals, and maybe humans, lighting your way, and keeping the psychological demons at bay. Don't underestimate how much control you feel when you're staring into flames, even if the world has gone full Mad Max. But let's say you can make fire. Great. You're ahead of the influencer crowd already. You boil water. You warm your hands. You feel like a survivor. And then you realize your water source is a sketchy creek filled with dead frogs and post-collapse runoff. You need clean water. Not, I hope this doesn't give me diarrhea, clean, actually clean. The kind that won't leave you sweating in a fetal position behind a burned-out Walgreens 24 hours later. Enter item 2. The liquid lifeline. Forget your fancy straw filters. They're great in theory until they clog, freeze, or leave you crawling back to the water source like a dehydrated raccoon. Chemical tablets? Sure, if you like pool-flavored water with a side of gut cramps. But they don't last, and they don't carry. You need a single-wall stainless steel bottle. No insulation, no aluminum, no branding needed. Just good old-fashioned steel that can take a beating, sit in a fire, and hold 32 ounces of life. Pair it with a nesting cup and you've got the most underrated survival toolkit on Earth. Boiling is king. 1 minute at 212 degrees Fahrenheit and everything dies. Every bacteria, virus, and parasite trying to rent space in your gut gets evicted. And unlike the straw, you can see it working. Steam doesn't lie. Now let's count the multipliers. It's your water purifier, water transporter, soup pot, rice cooker, and, in a pinch, a weapon. Fill it with hot water, and it's also a sleeping bag heater. Stuff it in your jacket, and you just earned another night of not dying. Meanwhile, Mr. Tactical Flashlight is over there using his straw like a sippy cup while you've got a mobile kitchen, a heat source, and clean hydration in your hand. Who's winning now? But even fire and water won't save you from the ultimate killer: exposure. You can have all the hydration in the world, but if you're cold, wet, and unprotected, your body's giving up faster than a teenager doing chores. That's where most survivalists lose the game. They pack a tent, pat themselves on the back, and forget that a tent is a one-trick pony. Which brings us to the most overlooked miracle in survival: the humble tarp. You think the tarp's boring? It's about to humiliate every overpriced tent in your closet. See you in part 2. The tarp. The flat rectangle of salvation. Not sexy. Not tactical. Doesn't come with a built-in morale boost or a micro-influencer discount code. But it will save your life while tents become colorful body bags. Everyone loves tents. They look great on Instagram. They've got zippers, vestibules, maybe even a color-coordinated rainfly. But when collapse comes knocking, tents are dead weight and bad decisions stitched together with optimism. They're visibility beacons.
Tents like this
shiny nylon flags flapping in the breeze that scream, I have gear and no plan. And worst of all, they're singular in function. You can sleep in them. That's it. No adaptability. No improvisation. When the poles snap or the fabric tears, you're left dragging a 4-pound souvenir of your bad choices. It's the survival equivalent of carrying a fax machine in a smartphone world. A tarp, though? A tarp is a damn magician. Get yourself an 8x10 or 10x10 heavy-duty tarp in a non-stupid color olive, drab, brown, forest green. Avoid the blaze orange unless your strategy is to be rescued or robbed. Now, you're holding the infinite architecture of post-civilization living. Why? Because a tarp is whatever you need it to be. Need an A-frame shelter? Tarp. Lean-to? Tarp. Poncho? Hell yeah. Cut a hole and wear your waterproof wizard cape. Water collector? Angle it right, stake the corners, and you've got rainwater pooling up like nature's guilt-free hydration station. Wet ground? That tarp becomes your insulation. Soaked forest floor becomes slightly less soaked plastic floor. Sleeping in a puddle of regret is now optional. Camouflage? Drape it over some branches and you're an invisible mushroom in the woods. Improvised stretcher for your dumb friend who twisted his ankle trying to parkour over a creek? Tarp. Signal panel? Mattress? Shade canopy? Vapor barrier? Yes, 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 and absolutely. Here's the science lesson buried in the sarcasm. Controlling airflow and blocking wind can raise the temperature under your shelter by 10 to 20 degrees. That's the difference between hypothermia and a rough nap. That's why every ounce in your pack should justify itself by keeping you alive in multiple ways, and this stupidly simple piece of fabric outclasses every $300 tent on the market. But let's not forget shelter doesn't build itself. You're not just going to whisper at 2 trees and have them politely stake down your tarp for you. You need the tool that ties the whole system together. You need to cut, notch, process, shape, and if necessary, stab something that thinks you're dinner. Which leads us to the one blade to rule them all. No, not the sword of Aragorn. We're not LARPing. A 4 to 5 inch full-tang carbon steel fixed blade knife. That's it. That's the holy grail of utility, pain, and power wrapped in a hunk of sharpened steel. Here's why every syllable in that description matters. Full tang means the blade runs straight through the handle, no glue. No weak points. No chance of it snapping off the moment you try to baton through a log. You could use it as a pry bar, a wedge, or a survival chisel. It won't care. Carbon steel sharpens like a dream, holds that edge like it means it, and yes, it rusts. So does everything else. Wipe it, oil it, shut up. It's worth the maintenance. 4 to 5 inches gives you the sweet spot. Long enough to process wood and defend yourself. Short enough to handle game or carve trap triggers without flailing around like a Renaissance fair reject. Fixed blade means no moving parts, no locks to fail, and no surprises when you're elbow deep in wilderness despair. And oh, the things it can do. Need firewood? Stick the blade on a log, smash the spine with another log, and split it open like a lumberjack with a grudge. Need to build shelter? Carve notches, strip bark, shape stakes. Need to process game? This is your knife from kill to cookpot. And if someone tries to take what's yours, well, let's just say a carbon steel argument is hard to ignore. It's not just a tool. It's your survival partner, your blunt instrument of freedom. It won't break, it won't fold, and it won't ask questions. But even the best blade is just a lonely hunk of metal without the right support team. You can cut, but can you bind? Can you hang your tarp, fix your pack, snare a squirrel, and repair your bootlaces after your 10th mile on broken concrete? You need cordage. And no, not the glorified shoelace they call paracord. That stuff is the duct tape of survivalists. Everyone uses it. No one questions it, and it barely does its job. Paracord stretches. It sags when wet. The internal strands are slippery garbage. UV ruins it, and when it breaks under tension, it does it with the kind of casual betrayal you usually reserve for exes and malfunctioning printers. Enter bankline. Real, gritty. Number 36 tarred bankline. The cordage of professionals. The favorite of trappers, fishermen, and people who don't die in the woods. It's thinner, stronger, and meaner than paracord. It holds knots like it's possessed. You can drag a deer carcass or lash together a shelter frame that could survive a hurricane. It doesn't soak up water, it doesn't care about the sun, and it doesn't fall apart just because you looked at it funny. You get 300 feet of survival possibility. That's your tarp ridgeline. That's your fishing line. Because, surprise, it's actual fishing line. That's your snare trap. That's your sewing kit when your gear gives up. That's your emergency shoelaces after you tripped over a pipe and exploded your dignity. 5 ounces of black string, infinite uses. It's the silent hero in every real survival story. So now we've got fire, water, shelter, blade, cordage. That's 5 of the 7 force multiplying items that actually matter when the grid's gone, the truck stopped rolling, and TikTok influencers are bartering ring lights for MREs. But here's the thing they'll never show you in a gear video. It all falls apart when moisture enters the chat. And it always does. Moisture is coming, and it's bringing mildew, gear failure, and emotional collapse. Part 3 is where things get damp and desperate. Let's talk about moisture, the sneakiest killer in the post-collapse party. Not the sexy kind like acid rain or biochemical weapon fog. Just plain old, dumb, merciless wetness. The kind that creeps into your gear overnight, ruins your tinder, soaks your socks, and turns your survival kit into a swampy bag of despair. You know what happens when everything gets wet? You die slower, colder, angrier. Not from the rain itself, but from the cascade of tiny failures it causes. Fire won't start, clothes won't dry, tools corrode, your food spoils, your morale? Gone, dripping down your sleeves. And here's the kicker. Most preppers treat waterproofing like an afterthought. I'll pack a trash bag, they say, confidently. As if a single flimsy sack designed to hold last Tuesday's meatloaf leftovers is going to save them from 3 straight days of atmospheric betrayal. What you need is not a trash bag. What you need is salvation in polyethylene. Enter the heavy-duty 55-gallon Contractor bag. Thick, black, ruthless. And if you're smart, you're carrying 5 of them minimum. Let me say this louder for the people in the back of the bug-out bunker. This is the most underrated item in all of survival preparedness. 1 Contractor bag weighs less than a t-shirt, costs less than your morning coffee, and it can do everything. It is the duct tape of waterproofing, the Swiss Army knife of dry hope. And when deployed with intent, It makes the difference between shivering in defeat or sitting smug and dry while the world weeps. Let's break it down. First, it's your pack liner. Before you shove a single item into that backpack of yours, line it with a contractor bag. Now you've got an impermeable membrane between your gear and the apocalypse. Clothes stay dry, tinder stays fluffy, food doesn't dissolve into sadness paste. You can fall into a creek and walk out like nothing happened, except your pride. Second, it's your emergency poncho. Cut a head hole, maybe some arm slits if you're feeling fancy. And boom, you're in a makeshift rain jacket that doesn't care about fashion, branding, or body odor. It just works. You look like a walking garbage sack? Good. Stay unapproachable. Third, it's your water container. No joke. You can fill one of these with 5 to 10 gallons of water and haul it back to camp like a slightly less graceful camel. That's hydration for days. Washing water. Cooking water. Water balloons for psychological warfare. Whatever. Fourth, it's your solar still component. Dig a hole, toss in some green plant matter, seal it with another contractor bag, put a cup in the middle, and wait. The sun will evaporate the moisture, which condenses and drips into the cup. Now you've made water with science and plastic rage. Fifth, it's a mattress. Stuff it with dry leaves or pine needles, tie it off, and congratulations, you now have a buffer between your sorry human frame and the cold, soul-sucking ground. No more sleeping on wet dirt while regretting your life choices. Sixth, it's a signal panel. In the right color black or safety, orange it becomes a beacon visible from the air. Fold it into a triangle, spell out help, or tie it to a tree. The message is clear. Hey, I'm alive and smart enough to carry plastic that actually does something. Seventh, it's a sled. In snow or mud, load it up, tie some cordage to the corners, and drag it behind you. Now you've turned a plastic bag into a freight solution. Your spine thanks you. All of that from a single bag. Multiply by 5, and you've got a waterproofing empire. They weigh nothing, do everything, and ask for nothing in return. Meanwhile, Instagram survivalists are out here bragging about their waterproof zipper pouches while mold devours their gear from the inside. Now, let's talk about the dirty little truth that ties all of this together. Everything breaks. It doesn't matter how high-end your gear is. The moment you depend on it, it will fail. Your tarp rips. Your bottle leaks. Your pack straps give up like a trust fund kid in basic training. Zippers explode. Buckles vanish. Clothing tears. In the civilized world, we fix things with return policies and warranties. In the collapse, you fix things with creativity, blood, and tape. Duct tape. Not just any duct tape. Gorilla brand. Because if you're going to rely on a roll of sticky salvation, don't cheap out. And not in the big roll, either. That's rookie stuff. You wrap 2,030 feet of it flat around a dead gift card or an empty lighter. Compact, durable, and ready for war. This is your everything fixer. And it has no ego. Ripping your tarp? Duct tape, inside and out. Boom waterproof again. Boot sole flapping? Wrap that sucker tight and keep moving. You're not auditioning for a fashion show. Pack strap frayed? Tape it into submission. You've just extended your gear's life by weeks, maybe months. But wait, it does more. You need a first aid kit? Duct tape is your field medic. Create butterfly bandages to close a wound. Splint a finger. Stop a blister from turning your walk into a limp fest. It's not sterile, but neither is dying from an infected cut. Fire starter? Absolutely. Duct tape is petroleum-based and burns like vengeance. Fluff it up, hit it with your Ferro Rod, and now you've got flame in wet conditions. Fire from sticky garbage. That's the kind of problem solving you want. Cordage backup? Twist it into rope. It's not ideal, but it holds. In an emergency, that's all that matters. Pole snapped on your shelter frame? Splint a stick with duct tape and laugh in the face of infrastructure failure. 6 functions. 1 wrap of tape. 4 ounces. You're not surviving because you brought the fanciest gear. You're surviving because you brought the stuff that works, the unsung, the unbranded, the unimpressive, to people who still think zip ties are clever. So now, you've got the spark that starts it all. The vessel that purifies and nourishes. The tarp that becomes your castle. The blade that sculpts the world. The cordage that binds it all. The plastic that shields. And the tape that fixes what breaks. That's the list. The 7. But don't get cocky. The tools won't save you. Not unless you've got something far rarer, a functioning brain under pressure. That Reckoning, Part 4. So, you've got the gear. The Elite 7. The Survivalist's Exodia. You've ditched the 70-pound cosplay rucksack, left the mall ninja aesthetic behind, and traded it all for raw, functional brutality. You're standing there with fire, water, shelter, blade, cordage, waterproofing, and repair capacity strapped to your back, and for the first time, you feel prepared. Except you're not. Not even close. Because here's the final twist of the knife. Gear doesn't save you. Gear is a tool. It's the hammer, the nails, the blueprint. But the thing that actually builds the shelter is you. And if you're not really ready, and none of it matters. Let me ask you this. Have you ever used that Ferro Rod in the dark, in the rain, with fingers that feel like frozen sausages? Have you ever boiled water in your steel bottle over an actual fire, not a YouTube tutorial? Can you tie a taut line hitch without Googling it first? Did you even know the taut line hitch was a thing until right now? Because when the collapse comes, whether it's an EMP, a civil breakdown, or just one very bad week, you won't have time to learn. You'll have seconds, minutes, if you're lucky. And everything you haven't practiced is already a liability. That's the ugly truth no influencer wants to tell you, because it's not marketable. Survival isn't about gear. It's about execution under stress. The gear is just an extension of your brain. And your brain? It's soft, distracted, addicted to dopamine hits and same-day shipping. It's been trained to panic at low battery warnings and minor inconveniences. You think that same brain is going to suddenly MacGyver its way through starvation and cold? No, not unless you start rewiring it now. You've got to train it, condition it, feed it problems, and force it to solve them without help. Go out and make fire when it's wet. Build a shelter in the wind. Sleep in the cold with nothing but what's in your pack. Tape your boots shut and keep walking. Tie your tarp in the dark. Get your hands dirty. Fail. Bleed a little. Learn something. Because one day, failure won't be an option. It'll be a final result. Understand this. Everything we've talked about, the Ferro Rod, the water bottle, the tarp, the blade, the bank line, the contractor bags, the duct tape, they don't just give you solutions. They give you combinations. It's not about having 7 tools. It's about having 70 solutions from 7 tools. Let's do some mental math. A Ferro Rod, some duct tape, and dried bark, fire, even in wet conditions, tarp, bank line, and a few sticks, shelter, shade, camouflage, rain catch, contractor bag, duct tape, and dirt, water purification via solar still, blade, bank line, and scavenged cans, traps, repairs, cook setup. Every combination is a puzzle piece, and your brain is the puzzle solver. You're not a gear collector. You're a system builder. That's what separates the survivors from the statistics. The Instagram preppers will be busy filming the last vlog they ever upload while you're boiling rainwater in a tin cup, tying off a tarp to keep the wind from sapping your core temp. Still think gear is sexy? Let's make it worse. The world you're preparing for might not even be the Hollywood variety. It might not be nuclear fire and mushroom clouds. It might just be a prolonged blackout, a water crisis, civil unrest in your city, a trucker strike that chokes your supply chain to death while the store shelves go bare and the police go off-duty indefinitely. TikTok doesn't survive that world. Neither does your gym routine or your curated bookshelf of never-used cookbooks. But your skills, your capability mindset, that lives. So yes, the 7 tools matter, but only if they become part of you. Only if you stop thinking of them as gear and start treating them like muscle memory. When the moment comes, there's no time to consult your favorite YouTube survivalist. No checklist, no top 5 mistakes to avoid in the apocalypse video buffering on your phone. There's only the moment and whether or not you've practiced for it. Practice like your life depends on it. Because one day, it will. You want an example? Picture this. It's day 3. Power's out. Water stopped flowing. Your neighbors already emptied the gas station. You've been forced out. Maybe wildfire, maybe violence. Doesn't matter. You're hiking with your pack, soaked from a flash storm. Temps are dropping. You're starting to shiver. You find an overhang, maybe some trees. You've got 30 minutes before your hands stop working. In your pack, Ferro Rod, contractor bag, bank line, knife. You wrap the contractor bag around your shoulders for a makeshift poncho. Blade out, you cut and notch branches. Bank line goes up between two trees. Tarp becomes your A-frame shelter. Fire pit dug fast. Tinder bundle, some bark you stashed earlier. Ferro Rod strikes nothing. Your hands are shaking. Again, spark, spark, flame. Water bottle on the coals, warming. You strip wet clothes, crawl into the shelter, wrap the hot bottle against your chest. Steam curls off your skin as warmth returns. That fire? Not comfort. Survival. That's not fiction. That's not drama. That's the real game. And you either play it well, or you don't play it long. So don't just buy gear. Use it. Know it. Become someone who could walk out their door with those 7 items and thrive when the rest fall apart. Because the world's not guaranteed. Your comfort? Temporary. But your preparation? That's permanent. Stay sharp. Because when the end comes, it won't wait for you to figure it out. You'll either know, or you'll vanish.